But see, one of them is working because
Yes.
social
It's nice and
hall and
warm
the
out there.
library, and if the group is this small, we should be in the library.
Works for me.
Then we can't live stream.
Oh.
Which begs the question, where did
Where
Mary
you going? Where
go?
you going?
Simon knows where he's going. Don't you, Simon? Pardon me, I may be in the way.
We're gonna sit up here for a little bit.
We can
We're
start
gonna sit
here.
Grammy for a little
We can
bit.
start.
You're gonna sit here for a little bit,
We're gonna
Simon?
split it, is that okay?
Boy, Simon, you're not very big to split.
Other option is
What's yours?
you wouldn't have a Sparta. Just
11
It's
o'clock.
all good.
11 o'clock.
And all is well.
All right.
Is,
And the town crier says,
they are friendly.
Everybody's warmed up. All that talking. We got hot air going around
Well, I
here.
can't find Mary, so I figure
So-
she'll find me. And we'd like to join you. Your name's
We want to say good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
We hope that we're glad you're here. We're glad you decided to come here rather than go someplace else. We know you people who are hunters and fishermen and golfers and that kind of thing, you sometimes take Sunday morning and you kind of play hooky. But not you folks here. You're right on time. 11:01. And we're going to have a good time today. So I want to just check and see if there is anybody visiting for the very first time here today. Oh, we have somebody right there. Met her earlier. Hi, welcome.
and over here.
Ava was
Oh,
here last week.
hiding back here?
Yeah, Ava was here last week.
No, she's been around. She's been around for like weeks and weeks. It's right up here. Right up here.
Here comes Claire.
We've got a packet for you that's got some interesting things in it. It's got a magazine. You've got to take a look at that little magazine in there. It's good, full of good stuff. And some information. And we just want to tell you we like having you here. We hope you like what you hear, and we hope you like what you see, and we hope you'll come back. Yeah. And we're glad you came back. Thank you. Okay. So what we like to do is do a congregational song right now, but before we get into the congregational song, I think I'll do the announcements. Does anyone know what the announcements are all about? The announcements let you know what's going on here. And we're going to talk about next week, we're going to have a guest speaker, Jerry Braza. I think some of you are familiar with Jerry Braza. Hey, hallelujah. I see one hand going up there. Yeah, okay. He's going to be talking about something different than money, though. Today, Reverend Moore is going to carry us on more into the financial part of things. But Jerry Braza is going to talk about the dark night of the soul. Dark night of the soul. So be there or be scared. It's Halloween, see, coming up. He knows what he's doing. We also want you to know that there's some future events going on. There is a Salem Peace Lecture that's going to be coming into play here on Wednesday, October the 26th at 7:30, and our center likes to join others in sponsoring this Dr. Ira Helflin, who speaks on Back from the Nuclear Brink, Prescription for Survival. Sounds interesting. And that's 7:30 p.m., October 26th, at the Smith Auditorium down at Willamette University. So try that out if you have a notion. We got something that's really good coming up. The Vision Meeting. The Vision Gathering is taking a congregation of the entire chapel, and we're all invited to participate in this. We have this visioning session that's going to be on November the 20th, following the Sunday morning service. Now, last Sunday, Cheryl talked about that, our practitioner, Cheryl Guest, and she gave a good understanding or a good introduction to how visioning is really going to change our life. So if you you just be there and see what happens. So that's November the 20th, right after the Sunday morning service. And we have a silent auction that continues. We do this every year. It's kind of nice. If you've got some items you'd like to donate for the silent auction, that's going to start on October 30th. We bring in the items. We want you to bring them in by October the 30th. Just bring them into the center here. I wonder if Reverend Moore knows any more about that. Did you talk to anybody?
Well, I was talking with
Oh.
the folks who are actually, how would I say, leading the charge
Okay.
on the silent auction. And they're interested in knowing if anybody here have items they plan to bring in at this time. So one,
Yeah, we
two,
do.
three, four at least. Okay.
We got a full basement.
5.
I'm full, our basement full.
So we got 5 or 6 people.
Okay.
So we'll see how that plays. I think we announced that the last Sunday, or the Sunday to bring them in was next Sunday. Yeah, so maybe we'll let that float until then, and then we'll make the decision as to how much we have and what we can do with our silent auction. Does that sit well with folks?
Could anybody that's bringing things in, could you either talk to Kathy or myself and let us know what you're bringing
Okay.
after service, please?
That would be great. Good idea.
There, who's leading the
Contact the
charge?
leaders, Kathy Danielson, Cheryl, our practitioner Cheryl, yes.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, we usually have musicians here to lead us into an uproaring, wonderful song in the morning. We're going to do something different this morning. I'm going to take my guitar and see if it's in tune. Taylor's her name. She's my girlfriend. I sit with her sometimes at home in my room. And Phyllis is watching television. I take Taylor and we have a good time. And I thought today what we do is we sing This Little Light of Mine. Slowly gonna start it. And then it'll be Everywhere I Go, This Little Light of Mine. And then Meeting You Here Today. We'll just follow along here. So what's that the right tune? This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Meeting you here today, I'm gonna let it shine. Meeting you here today, I'm gonna let it shine. Meeting you here today, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. That will do it now. Thank you. You guys know how to party without a band.
And we had a very old one-man band this morning. And Taylor, I should say, first.
So, where we going here now is going to be very interesting. We like to have an invocation, someone who has that inclination to pray us in. So I'm going to ask Cheryl to do that. Thank you, Cheryl.
Good morning. Good morning. And on this wonderful, fabulous day that the Lord has made, let us just rejoice in knowing that we are all present here as manifestations of that one Spirit, that we are Spirit in action. We are Spirit in action. And I know that as this day unfolds, the words that need to be spoken are spoken, and what needs to be heard is heard. And I know that the reciprocal nature of the universe is what is going on here today. The cash is flowing, and it flows from within us, and it flows back to us. That is the law of attraction in this beautiful, beautiful manifestation of this universe. And so, knowing that every person present here is vital to this center, every person that is present here constantly is always, always being fed by the spiritual truth that is spoken here. The knowing that there is only one power, that there is only love, there is only goodness in the universe. And anything that appears to be different, we just have to dig a little deeper and find the good. And so I'm just so full of joy and so full of laughter and all of the good stuff within me right now. My spirit is just full of happiness. to be here today. And so as this thing unfolds today, however it is, I know that every heart here is willing and open to hearing what is going to be said. And so with so much gratitude, I just release this word into the law of mind, knowing that it is already unfolding. It is already in process. So if this resonates with you, please join me in saying, and so it is.
Yes. I feel prayed in.
I do too. All right. Let's look at the part of our program that says affirmation, and let's read that affirmation together. Everybody find it? Today
Brings me a fresh perspective, grow out of yesterday's experience. I have a greater power and a higher good as I speak my words
and
and
I
name all things
as good and well and holy, and
So it is.
Our reader, who is again Cheryl, is coming forward.
I'm doing triple duty today. Just please know that the people that are not present today that would take care of all this stuff, that they are not able to be here, and just keep them in your thoughts and prayers. So today's reading is saturated with divinity. Be humble if thou wouldst attain to wisdom. Be humble still when wisdom thou hast mastered. Turning from every object fact of to the divine within you is turning from conditions to causes, to that realm of absolute being that, through self-knowingness, creates the form it projects and enters into the experience it creates. Thus, the Spirit comes to self-fulfillment in everything. Everything is alive with God, saturated with divinity. You must learn to become consciously aware of the divine presence and the divine power, the wholeness of truth, of love, of reason, and of a sound mind. Instead of dwelling on negative thoughts, cause your mind to dwell on peace and joy. Know that the power of the invisible Spirit is working in and through you now at this very moment. And this is from This Thing Called You, page 125. Most of the time, we face objective facts pretty efficiently. At home, it's our responsibility to our families and to ourselves to do it. At work, we're paid to do it. As we mature, we get better at it. And this is not what Ernest is suggesting we turn from. He means in our spiritual practice, in that time we set aside to commune with the infinite and get our thinking clear about the absolute from which the relative derives. To enter the absolute is to carry our minds to a place where the facts are not only unproblematic, but there literally are no facts to carve up the undivided whole. Spirit knows only itself, not denominations or compartments of itself. It's our human business to particularize it. It is our spiritual business to revisit it in the absolute for refreshment and rejuvenation. So our affirmation is, today, I have no fear of the past, present, or future. I live in trust and wonder. So it is.
So it is. We're so fortunate to have talented practitioners and ministers who like to aren't afraid to make a fool of themselves, you know? So, before we get into Reverend Maur's wonderful message, there's a song that I ran into that I'll just do a couple little tidbits of, see if it works out for me. I think I've heard of the song before. Get ready, my soul, I'm diving in to that deepest part of me, to that deepest kind of love. to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to this present moment. So get ready, my soul. I'm diving in, I'm diving in. And that's the best I can do for this morning for you. So get ready with me to hear a message of the morning, so wild and free. Thank you, Reverend Moore. You're next. Let me get this out of your way here.
Oh, gracious me. Well, good morning. Haven't we been welcomed with joy this morning? Thank you, Reverend Don, for all that you brought to our musical and announcement world. And Cheryl, for your... did anybody hear Cheryl's meditation this morning? Wasn't it wonderful? Yes, thank you. And for reading and for inspiring us with an invocation. You know, I really enjoy being able to be here with you. I haven't been with you as much as I wanted to the last month or so, and I'll be telling you a little bit about that in a few minutes. But today's message is really all about getting straight with money, getting the mind that you have tuned into the universe's way of circulating goodness, which we call money. It's just like energy with numbers on it, right? Now, what we plan to do as we get into our talk today is to look at some concepts, we might call them myths, that may have crept into our thinking and kept us from really appreciating the flow of money in our lives. So, I have some work to do to reveal what those myths are, but you have more work to do to be able to maybe see a way to disassemble the myth and come to the revelation of the truth. Now, we are really fortunate. For those of you who have been here through the Sundays, remember that Reverend Julie gave us a wonderful background into the power and the energy and the life that flows in and through us. That life always flows. We live in a stream of consciousness. We live in a stream of life. And it supports us in so many ways. And as we become more and more steeped, more and more part of that goodness that life is, it becomes more part of us. And our consciousness attracts that wonderful ability to be present in the good. Now, one form of that good, of course, is money, right? It's nice to have money. At least I found that I enjoy life more and more comfortable with some money than without money. It's really, really good. Now, Reverend Don, have you heard his talk last week? I just really enjoyed it. I heard it over the internet, you know, that way. But don't you agree that he just gave us a wonderful talk? Yes. I do. Yes. And he brought us into an awareness of a thought or a statement that I've heard some of the old-time New Thought leaders say. I love money. Yes, I love money. I do. And I agree with that sentiment very much. Now, I'd like to just take a few minutes before getting into the rest of our money talk to just give a little background on some of the things that are happening in my life, bring you up to date a bit, and let you know what's going on. My wife, Vicki, has been experiencing some debilitating pain. That pain has been going on for almost 5 weeks now, and it causes her to rely on me for some really simple things. One of the most basic is making sure she takes her pills on time. For those of us in the know, we're using gabapentin and Tylenol now, but we were on hydrocodone and then oxycodone, and we're off those. We got rid of those. Yeah, we just, we didn't really need them. And they tend to, those things, opioids kind of confuse the mind a little, I think. They're not, they don't lend to clarity of mind. So we got off those. So that's a big improvement. Other simple aspects of life include such things as dressing and changing clothes. I help with this. Preparing meals. Getting better, she says. That's a good. Needless to say, I stick pretty close to home most of the time. It's really difficult for me to see her suffering, so I monitor her pain level closely. Have any of you ever heard this question before? On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your pain level right now? I think anybody who's been involved in hospital care or that sort of thing probably has. Once or twice he said it's 12. Ooh, okay, we better take care of that. Fortunately, the medications we had on hand helped. When I've had to be away, for example, on retreat, family has come in to help. Her son and fiancé stayed with Vicki for over a week. Now, it seems that her pain does not really arise from her Parkinson's. The doctors have called this a severe nerve pain. It starts in the hip or the back and goes down the leg, and they named it sciatica. Now, the good thing about sciatica, if there is one, is that it normally heals on its own. It normally clears up, right? According to the literature, it's just a matter of time. Well, time is passing. Now, in fact, Vicki reports lower pain levels now than she did last week. In the past week, it was sometimes 8 or 9. Now it's 5 or 6, something like that, at the worst. And did you know that sciatica is kind of a mechanical thing? It really is. It depends on what's going on with the body. In fact, we've talked with several of our younger friends, women, who've had children, and said, oh, the baby pressed upon their sciatic nerve and caused sciatica. And of course, this disappeared when they delivered the baby. So that's called transitory sciatica. And in fact, we had a couple over yesterday who mentioned that. Now, our physical therapist was able to find several positions in which Vicki was able to report a 0 to 1 pain level. And his advice was, those are the positions you want to try to stay in, right? Now, lying on her back is one of them, so pretty easy. She likes to sleep. The wonderful thing about all this is that she is improving. There are times when, if she's fully engaged in something, like when she was with a friend over at Eagle Crest painting, she was able to sit and paint for like 3 hours. Virtually no pain, no pain. She's just amazing that way. Oh, I mentioned yesterday, friends came over, Bailey and her husband Jacob brought their 1-month-old daughter, Ania, over to visit for an hour. Vicki was almost literally in heaven, just holding this little one and talking with Bailey while she's holding the baby. She's just really happy. I could tell from her smile, there was no pain in that. That was really, really good. Now, in fact, I am Vicki's main caregiver. It's taken some time and energy, and it's my first priority in life is to take care of my wife, the love of my life, and do it well. And a friend of mine asked me, well, what do you think is the underlying meaning of all this? What's the outcome? What's going on, really? And what came from my lips was this. I believe it is we are learning to care more deeply for one another. We are appreciating the depths of our love. That's what's really going on here. Yes, I agree, the repeated requests for glasses and phone and water and help getting up and down, fetching this and fetching that, and I'm hungry, give me a snack, da-da-da-da-da, can get a little trying. I do. All too frequently, I'm afraid I express it a bit, but generally, I'm able to put on my smile and deliver the service. In truth, each of these requests present an opportunity to renew our love for one another. I in the giving and she in the receiving. At least that's on the surface of things, isn't it? That's what it appears. I'm giving and she's receiving. Yet she gives her love too in form of appreciation, in form of thanks, in form of givingness. And I receive her love through acknowledgement. On the metaphysical level, we just call this an example of the law of circulation, the circulation of good. Love given, love received. That's what it's all about. Give and receive. We're exchanging love one with another. Now, I share this background with you today because I want you to know that I am still dedicated to my calling here at Woodland Chapel Center for Spiritual Living. I may be adjusting office hours some, I may be even adjusting some of the days I'll be available. But I do plan to continue and help our work here. Now, I may work a little more from home, but I will still be available by phone, just as I have been. And I can always arrange to meet someone here at the center when needed. I do plan to continue teaching our visioning class on Tuesday evenings. Now, I'll be working closely with Michelle Giammatteo, our board president, our board, and our ministry team to ensure that our work of changing lives, our work of helping people move forward in their spiritual journey continues. And I'm so grateful for the support of Reverend Dawn, Reverend Julie, and our 5 practitioners, Practitioner Cheryl Ostrander, Practitioner Cheryl Guess, and our wonderful Kathy Prather, and Donna Stevens, and Ruth Tenike. All of us have come together as a team to help present this continuing level of service. Now, I have a few minutes for questions, if you have any about this. Anybody have a question they want to ask? That's okay if you don't. I just wanted to open it up. All right. All right.
I got a question.
Oh, sure.
I gotta play the role.
That's Richard.
What's your plan?
My plan is to be here and serve as much as possible and continue the regular services of this chapel.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel really good about it. I feel that it's part of my inner calling at this time to do that and move forward. We are in the middle of a process that I'll talk about a little bit later that will help facilitate our awareness of where we're going in terms of our plan. Yes, Cheryl.
What can we as a congregation do to support you, Reverend Moore?
Oh, thank you. Well, being here on Sunday mornings is a great support. Prayer treatment for us, and not just for Vicki and me. There are others in our congregation who face some debilitating pain. Particularly the ones that come to my mind are to pray also for Veronica and Neil Halpern, and for Kathy and Dennis Shalou, and for anyone else that you know of who might be suffering from continuing pain. That would be really helpful. Prayer is wonderful. And keep our center going. Keep doing what you're doing, Cheryl. You're wonderful. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, well, let's move on back to our money theme for a bit. Money is the theme of the day, our financial theme for the month, and today it's money, so they say. Now, I found this short story, and I hope you might find it humorous as I do. Little Johnny is always teased by the other boys at school for being stupid. Whenever they make fun of Johnny, the other boys will offer him a nickel or a dime, and Johnny always takes the nickel. One day, after Johnny takes the nickel, Johnny's friend Billy pulls him aside and asks, "Johnny, don't you know by now that a dime is worth more than a nickel, even though the nickel's bigger?" A smile slowly comes over Johnny's face. "Well," he says, "they'd stop doing it if I took the dime, and so far I've made $10. So, our relationship with money allows us to take advantage of many different situations. Now, the theme assigned by Centers for Spiritual Living today is debunking some myths. There's some myths about money. The first myth I'd like to challenge in our mind is a saying that has come out of our society and some of our religious organizations, that money is the root of all evil. Have you heard that one before? No. I've heard that one, yeah. It's not, really. The love of money is not the root, despite what some sources say. Now, despite what some people preach, I have yet to see a preacher, a minister of a church, or a church group turn down tithes, gifts, and money, no matter how much they think the love of money is evil. They seem to accept it quite willingly. So, yeah, all right. Now, our new thought approach to money is quite different, much different. Money is just stored energy with numbers on it. Energy is a quality of the divine. So money is just an aspect of life, of the law of circulation of life. That's all it is. Now, I, for one, as a New Thought minister, believe that money is our friend, and we should treat it that way. I invite it into my life, and I invite you to consider doing that for you, yourself. And just treasure its presence, however it is, however much it is, treasure what you have. Then let it go and let it do what it does best. What does money do for us? Well, gosh, it does a lot of things. It's exchange, right? You can get electricity and for your home or your auto. You can get natural gas to heat your home. You can buy food. You get medications, and so much more. Money can be a really true friend. All we have to do is treat it right, not hold it too tight, and let it flow. Okay? Money is our friend. Let's start with that. Let's replace that other myth thing. There's a second myth that we can bust. There's kind of a belief that all great spiritual leaders are poor. Have you kind of picked up on that one along? Yeah. That they all eschew money and all the things money can buy. Now, how many of us are familiar, since most of us have a Christian background here, are they true? Yeah, I think so. I see lots of heads nodding. How many of us are familiar with the scene that Jesus was born in a manger with no crib for his head? Right? Yeah, poor, right? Really poor. Well, think about it just a little bit. Jesus really wasn't poor. The birth story in Luke has him born in humble circumstances, yes, but that was due to the fact there was no room for him at the inn, right? Well, you don't go to the innkeeper looking for a room if you haven't got the money to pay for it, do you? So how about that? And Matthew's story of the birth of Jesus was in a house in Bethlehem where Mary lived. And when the Magi brought gifts, one of the key gifts was frankincense, incense, and gold. Gold, right?
Absolutely.
Whoa, okay, so that gold was available then later for Jesus' ministry. Now, Jesus had a bookkeeper. He did. Which you don't need unless you've got something to keep, like money. He wore seamless robes, he mixed with the rich and the poor alike, and was supported by women to whom he preached. Nowhere does it say in the Gospels that he couldn't afford something. Nowhere. Mm-mm. Now, the famous statement that it's more difficult for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, which really is within, was a comment about going through that narrow gate, was a comment about the attachment to wealth and the attachment to social status of his time. Okay, so that's one spiritual leader. How about Buddha? Buddha's an interesting case, isn't he? You all know the story of Gautama Buddha. He was born into great wealth, and he toured around and felt that was something he had to give up. And so for about 6 years or so, he was an ascetic. He was living in the woods and the wild, as it were. He even almost starved himself to death, seeking enlightenment. But he stepped back from that, didn't he? He stepped back from that and decided that there's a middle way between great poverty and great wealth. And that middle way is recorded in a book called the Dhammapada. He rejected extreme wealth and extreme poverty. Now, Muhammad was simply a wealthy trader. He was a merchant dealing in goods, and he married a very rich widow. So he was definitely not poor. Lao Tzu, said to be the author of the I Ching, and Chuang Tzu, were both respected government officials with no indication of poverty. No idea. Now, if you go back into the Hebrew Bible and you look at spiritual figures such as Abraham and Jacob and Joseph and Moses, they were all very well off. They were kind of millionaires of their day, if you will. So great spiritual leaders have not always been poor. In fact, they really weren't. In more modern times, for example, it's reported that Mother Teresa and her charities had over $100 million in assets at the time of her transition. She lived poorly, simply, definitely. She embodied that. But she was a great public fundraiser. She was able to bring money into her organizations. So I think it's time to let go of this myth that the great spiritual leaders are poor. Not so true. A third myth that we can dissolve is that there is never enough money. Always going to be short of money. I remember my mom sitting at the kitchen table and in the dining nook, and the table was littered with papers. I was 9 or 10 at the time. When I asked her what she was doing, she told me she was robbing Peter to pay Paul. Has anyone heard that one before? Yeah, okay. I was a little mystified. What do Peter and Paul have to do with anything about here? She clarified matters for me by saying she was paying the bills that most needed to be paid. This month she'd make sure the electric bill was paid well enough so they don't shut off the power. And last month it was the water bill. And it just kind of bounced back and forth. It was nip and tuck for us for a number of years. Now when Dad's business finally went well and clients paid him for his work, money flowed in and she caught up on all these outstanding bills. We did not live poorly, really. We always had enough to eat, a roof over our heads, heat in the house, and clothes to wear. My parents even were able to buy a family home, and Mom lived there for nearly 50 years. She also acquired the house and lot next door, my parents did. So, along the way she did sell the lot, and she did move away from the family home in order to move into an apartment right across from the church so she could go to daily mass. That was why she got rid of the house. Now, Mom did live frugally. Yet, when she made her transition, she left us 4 kids, a total of $40,000. So there really is no ultimate reason that there be a shortage of money. There's always enough money if we're available to do our work and take care of life. Now, there's another myth we can attack. Once money's spent, it's gone. It's disappeared. That's it. During a science and wine class, a student was scammed out of $800. Has anybody been? No, it's not. Don't raise your hands on that one. She had worked through her initial feelings of stupidity and loss. I mean, you got to feel bad when that happens. She did take care of those. She didn't try to hide them. She worked through them. And then she decided to suspend going into all the old stories of stupidity and loss. Instead, with the support of her instructor and classmates, she called on the universe to replace her that, quote, lost money, unquote, and more. Within 2 days, a person who owed her money that she'd never expected to be repaid called to say she had just deposited $1,000 into the student's PayPal account. The money and more had flowed right back in. She said it'd be all right to share this story if I kept it anonymous, so thank you, Anonymous. It's there. It's there. Now, disposing of these myths, these 4 myths we talked about, let's talk a little bit about what happens next. When we rid ourselves of one or more of the myths of disbelief, this belief in the untrue, when we've cleaned them from our minds, then we open our way to freedom. We open our way to being fully ourselves, to really enjoying all of life. Money is important, yes, but of course family and friends and acquaintances and experiences of travel, experiences of learning and getting new aspects and perspectives in our lives. It all becomes more readily available to us as we realize that the real headwaters, the source of all the good, money included, is the infinite. And that infinite is really beyond our total comprehension. We can't limit it. We can't limit it. It's right at hand. That infinite is certainly transcendent over throughout the entire universe, yet it lives in our hearts. It's both infinite and intimate. And so as we realize this, we begin to experience the infinite good that truly is ours. And we know through our spiritual teachings that this goodness resides in our hearts and comes to us through the channel of our minds. We are vessels for spirit to move through us into expression in our lives and expression in the world. The only things that really stop this flow are misbeliefs about abundance and prosperity and money. as we begin to expand our normal idea of life and its prosperity, our mental equivalent expands. We're able to take in more and share more of this good. Now, one of the good things that we're doing here at Woodland Chapel is to look at what factors will help us to grow our attendance, grow our participation in the community. We actually have a group, our leadership group, which consists of our ministers and practitioners and our board members who've begun this process. And we're going to be talking some more about this when we get to our November 20th visioning meeting. So that'll be a time when we can really begin to express the goodness that is in us and attract more good into our lives. You know, when we do attract good into our lives, it's a matter of we retain some, as it were. We use it. For example, when we assimilate this good in breathing, we take some part of the air in, and some part of that air stays in us. The nitrogen and the oxygen and whatever is needed comes in that way. And when we eat, we retain some of the food. And this is just healthy living, right? It's healthy to do that. Some people experience what I might call, excuse the phrase, monetary diarrhea. Everything that comes in flows right out. So we deserve, and we actually need to retain some of this abundant prosperity so we can save and we can invest. Now, when we've saved and invested, and we have enough, and we have some to spare, we can really do two things with this goodness. We can spend it for things we want to buy, we choose to buy, things we need perhaps, and we can release through giving or donating or tithing money to create a greater good in this world. Here's a little quote I ran across. If you have the ability to save regularly, it is an indication that you are at least as intelligent as the squirrels who gather nuts for the winter. We take our inspiration wherever we see it. Just a note on conscious giving. People sometimes react negatively to the topic of tithing. And really, tithing is just simply a practice of giving and receiving. It's the giving-receiving principle of the universe, the law of circulation, if you will. Now, I will firmly assert, you won't displease God if you don't tithe. The universe won't punish you if you don't tithe. You just won't experience the benefits of tithing unless you participate. Just like you wouldn't experience the benefits of meditation if you don't meditate. Tithing or conscious giving is an opportunity to continue the flow of money in such a way as to uplift the world. So as we move toward a conclusion this morning, what's it really all about? This money thing, this finance? Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's about life. It's about the circulation of life, the law of circulation, the law of giving and receiving. It's about being part of the greater universe, the greater consciousness. It's about knowing who and what you truly are as a center and a channel of givingness and goodness. That you are a source of what is wonderful in this world. And it's life. It's energy. And it's all about sharing it and circulating this. Life presents us with many opportunities to grow in love. And we begin to see that not only when our times are easy, but sometimes when times are tough, we begin to see that how our love too lives within and can move out to help other folks. It's the same thing with our money. Sometimes it seems like it's a little short or tight, but that too is an opportunity to tap into creativity and to find new ways to express life. As we realize our ability to share, our ability to give, and our ability to love other folks, we become ever more like the infinite principle of life itself. For the infinite really constantly gives of itself to create the universe as we see it, as we hear it, and as we touch it. And that givingness is that total involution of spirit into form and an evolution out of form into awareness in us. Each of us is some manifestation of divine good. That's why we have the urge to give of ourselves and of our substance. So, my encouragement for you today is enjoy the give and take of this life to the fullest, no matter what form it takes. Even if what you experience is troubling, give thanks. Remember, as Ernest Holmes writes in Living the Science of Mind, all things emanate from pure spirit and return again to it. That's the truth of the matter, and that's our message for today. Namaste. Thank you. Always enjoy being here with you. All right, now we're going to go to our next stage in our Sunday morning, and we'll do our sharing of goods. And Catherine, Kim, I think, and Reverend Don, are you going to do the?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
And Simon.
And Simon.
Yes.
Okay, there is a saying, an affirmation we like to proclaim as we do the offering, and it is this, and let's read it together on the program. You see where it is? Okay. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is. Anybody feel like leading us in a song called Blessed Always?
Blessed always, right? Blessed always are the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. And so it is. We have proclaimed the truth here this morning that life is circulation. That circulation of life is a natural and normal way that we share the goodness that's in our hearts and minds, and the goodness that is just built in to us as spiritual and human beings. We share generously because it's just our nature. It's our nature to be giving, to be loving, to be compassionate, to be concerned, and to help. And so with this in mind, we just give thanks for every gift here this morning and realize that every gift builds up our consciousness to be able to share these truths, expand our teaching, and be truly present in this community. For this we give thanks, and as we know this, let us proclaim together, and so it is. Let's turn now to our prayer of protection, and read it together or say it from heart. The light
of God surrounds us.
The love
of God enfolds us.
The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let's stand, and let's see if we can sing our peace song together. Do we need to start a note or anything, or are we good? I think the C is the peace song. Oh, what's the first verse?
Let
Peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Walk always in the certainty of the circulation of the goodness in your hearts and love. So it is.
Don't give up your day job.
Yes, I